this, which all we have to do is look at our circles. Stylish dressers are neither tasteful nor dull. Okay, that's not true. They can certainly be tasteful. Every stylish dresser is tasteful. Stylish is tasteful and not dull. Bingo! You see, once you have the procedure, it's really easy to get it. But at first, if you look at that and you don't have any cognitive map for solving this, you're going to be quite puzzled. And again, that's the value of, and the reason why so many colleges and universities require that kind of class. And then you transfer the learning. Okay, so again, this is kind of the explanation. So this is another form of Venn diagram. That usually this is the one with the circles inside of it is what's given. Okay, so just I don't know if anybody knows that, but I taught critical thinking at Cal State Long Beach before I was hired here, and that is how I know what it is that's taught in a critical thinking class. Is that just every chapter has a different type of process. Not in addition to the ones that we're talking about today, there are things like problem solving, hypothesis testing, and understanding probability, which are typical. Even decision making is considered a critical thinking skill. So that's where you get most of the practices. What I find in my current teaching is that the things that work really well for getting students to think are to have, well, I'll get to that next, to have debates and have things, just as David Morris said, where you can actually see them, listen to them thinking, or see their writing documents. When I taught critical thinking, I didn't have multiple choice tests. I had, well, I didn't even call them tests, I called them demonstrations of learning. And then they had to solve these problems on the spot and actually tell me how they were thinking about things. And then what I would do in class was to have the students go videotape arguments that they saw maybe on the news hour, things like that, really high quality news programs where they make a practice of getting people with different points of view. And then they would bring them into class having already studied them themselves and ask for students to recognize informal fallacies or, and to look at the argument with the skills that they've been learning in class. And then oftentimes students would write position papers, and so that I could really see their arguments. And many times I tried to encourage them to argue against something that they believed. Right? So many times on issues there are 2 points of view. If they argue against the other one, they can really open up their minds. And then, as I was saying, when I started thinking about what do I do in my psychology classes, one of the things I realized is that I do a lot of sort of pre-critical thinking types of activities with them. I wouldn't really call them analyzing arguments, but the very fact that you get students to write something and then you scrutinize their thinking process is helpful to get them started. In my intro psych class, I actually have this assignment that seems incredibly easy, but it ends up not being all that easy for them. I ask them, based on what we talked about last time, to please write a question and an answer that we can use to review. And then I pick them up the next day that we have class, and I pick out a few that I think are really central or just interesting. And then I ask them the question, and they give me the answer. But they get a point for the question and a point for the answer. Here are some of the interesting things they'll do. I think I use one as an example here, that they'll say, what is the difference between this and that? And then they'll flip the card over, and they've just defined